What do you think about ayahuasca and all these other? It seems like that's the hot thing everyone's doing these days.
Well, it's dimethyltryptamine.
Right.
I mean, that's what ayahuasca is. It's,
right.
If
Which people smoke that on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. I've smoked it a bunch of times.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done ayahuasca because I've never found anybody that's willing to get it to me without going to the jungle.
You got to do the ceremony.
Yeah. But the DMT experience itself is unbelievably intense. Just DMT itself it's a more powerful version of ayahuasca. Like ayahuasca, from what it's been explained to me for everyone who's done it, is longer and oftentimes more introspective, and it can be more profound even because it lasts longer and you have more time to sort of take in the experience. But as far as the intensity of the experience, it's not as intense as when you smoke DMT.
Interesting.
And smoking DMT is not as powerful as when it's injected intravenously. And that's how they did it with Dr. Rick Strassman out of the University of New Mexico. Did a series of tests, clinical trials on people. Wow. And he documented it in a book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule.
I've heard about that. Isn't there a documentary on that as well?
Yeah, I narrate it.
Oh, you do?
I'm the host of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a really interesting documentary because it deals with a lot of scientists and their experience with dimethyltryptamine and trying to understand like what this compound is and why it exists. But the trips that people had when they took it intravenously were like half-hour long, just journeys into insanity, into this.
Like bad insanity?
No. All of them, I believe, afterwards said that it profoundly enhanced their life and their perspective and gave them a view of reality that forever changed the way they look at things, about interactions, life. And I could say that about myself. Like, my experiences with DMT have definitely profoundly changed the way I view possibility, because it's so impossibly dynamic and insane, and it just doesn't seem like anything that you could have ever imagined. And what ayahuasca is an orally active version of DMT, because DMT is insanely common. It's in thousands of different plants. It's in all sorts of different ecosystems all over the world have plants that have DMT, including a lot of grasses, like phalaris grasses, which is really common. It's rich in DMT.
But you can't extract it.
Well, you can extract it for sure. Absolutely.
Like,
you have to just know what you're doing. If you're a chemist, it's actually not that difficult. That's the reason why DMT, if you know people who know how to get DMT, the actual raw plants that have DMT, you can't make illegal because there's too many of them.
Interesting.
It's like you would have to make, like, it's one of the, there's some scholars out of Jerusalem that believe that this is the literal interpretation of what Moses was experiencing when experiencing the burning bush and talking to God. They believe that burning bush is the acacia tree, because the acacia tree is very rich in DMT and extremely common in that part of the world.
So was Moses smoking the
Most
tree?
likely, yeah.
Most likely. If you smoke the acacia tree, do you get the DMT?
I'm sure if you light those trees on fire, you're going to absorb a certain quantity of DMT. It wouldn't be as pure as like extracting it in a lab, breaking it down to the raw DMT crystals, and then freebasing it, which is what you do. That's probably way more intense. But it's entirely likely that there's a method of doing it, because the method that they found in the Amazon is extremely convoluted. Like, what they did was, if you eat a plant, right, that has DMT in it, your body produces something called monoamine oxidase that breaks down the dimethyltryptamine in the plant, and you won't experience it psychoactively.
It's just like eating weed. It does nothing unless it's been already pre-broken down.
But even more different, because weed has to be like cooked in something in order to activate it.
Right. But if you just eat it straight up,
right,
just like the plant itself, you won't feel anything.
I don't think so.
No, you don't.
But it's supposed to be really good for you, though.
Oh, interesting.
If you eat it, like juicing it, like, it's supposed to be like really rich in phytonutrients, and it's supposed to be really rich in CBDs too, which don't necessarily get you high, but are really good for you. And good for inflammation.
Juicing it.
Yeah. But no, it's a big thing, man. People juice it. It's really super common. Like wheatgrass juice, but they do it with cannabis. They take the leaves and they throw it in a juicer.
You get those at like the dispensaries here?
No. But I've seen it online. I've never actually seen it in person, but I definitely have seen it online. So what these people have done when they created ayahuasca, and they've been doing this for no one knows how long, but they believe it's been thousands and thousands of years. It's really hard to try to figure out how long they've been doing it. But they take the leaf of one plant, which contains harmine, which is a natural MAO inhibitor, and they take the roots or the vine of another plant, which has the dimethyltryptamine in it, and they boil it in some sort of a
I've
crazy
watched that
concoction.
process, yeah.
So they figured out how to make their own pharmacological solution to absorbing DMT orally.
Which is crazy.
And
Who discovered
amazing.
that?
Well, they say the plants told them how to do it.
Of course they said that.
I don't know if that's wrong. I mean, I just think our view of what a plant is like, well, I talked to my fern and it never says anything.
Right.
You got a plant that's in a fucking plastic cup. I think it's probably analogous to the difference between that little tiny pig that's like a little baby pig and a fucking wild pig who's out there hustling, making shit happen, you know? But I think that is a wild animal, you know? And I think these wild plants that are living in the jungle, that are alive in the rainforest and have been there for thousands of years in this deep canopy of moisture and nutrients and plants and bugs and mammals and cats and all these different things. And then you got these people who live like the Chumani. They're walking barefoot through these fucking woods in Bolivia and throwing fucking spears at monkeys and shit and cooking them over the fire. Like, these people have been living like this for thousands of years. I think it's entirely possible that these people that are eating plants that have psychedelic properties to them, whether it's mushrooms, and you know, there's a lot of mushrooms that you can eat that, and also in these same areas, there's a lot of psilocybin. So they're chewing these psilocybin mushrooms, and they have these ideas of like how to combine these things. You're talking about hundreds of different species of plants. And these fucking guys have figured out how to take these two and combine them in some really crazy involved way.
Yeah.
Where you're boiling it, and what's the explanation? There's no explanation that makes any sense other than the plants gave them the hints.
Yeah, I think that I've always believed, and my wife's a neuroscientist, so we talk about this stuff a lot and debate it, but I've always believed that, you know, we know about the senses that we've documented. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's certain things that we can take that activate other senses that we didn't know were there and allow us to do certain things, like, for example, talk to plants or whatever it may be. It's not going to be the, you know, I'm having a conversation and it's talking back to me, but it could be a feeling or a vibe or
data,
you know,
some way
something.
of getting
There's something
data.
else there, you know.
Well, do you know when scientists first found harmine, and I want to say this was in the early 1900s. I forget what year it was, but when they first found harmine, they wanted to call it telepathine. I think it was Psychotria viridis. I think that was the plant that they found it in. I forget what the plant they found it in was. But the compound, whatever it was, had allowed these people, these scientists, to feel like they were experiencing some sort of communal thoughts. And so they wanted to call it telepathine. But because of the fact that once they had isolated the compound and figured out what it was, they realized it had already been named harmine, you know, due to the rules of scientific nomenclature. They decided to just keep that name. But their name for it was going to be telepathy.
Crazy.
Yeah.